One police officer is reacting to the death of a pedestrian who was hit and killed by another officer.
That SPD officer was rushing to an overdose call in the South Lake Union area when he hit and killed a college student on the crosswalk. So Fox 13's Jennifer Dowling has more on this troubling audio. Jennifer.
Good evening. The audio clips were very short, but they were telling. In the first clip we are going to play for you, you can hear an officer talking about the death of the young woman. We have to warn you, what you are about to hear is disturbing.
Initially, he said she was in a crosswalk.
That's the police union president and vice president speaking too. Oh, I'm shocked that they're so fucking callous in their indifference towards human life that one of their own has taken. I'm so shocked. Is it fair that I want outrage for this? I heard the cop hasn't been punished. Remember, these are the people that are tasked with protecting and serving the public. As they already described, in Seattle, a dude was hitting 78 miles, according to this chatter, in a 25-mile zone. No lights on, at a red light at an intersection, and hit and killed a pedestrian. That part of the story is fucked up, but it's a very common aspect of policing. Vehicular manslaughter is the bread and butter of the police force. The victim was a 26-year-old graduate student. The people that you're hearing in this conversation is Daniel Otterer, who's the vice president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild, the police union, who responded to the January 23rd crash scene where another officer, Kevin Dave, struck and killed Janavi Kandula, who was 23 years old. Janavi was walking through a crosswalk. Dave was driving at 74 miles an hour on the way to an overdose call, and Otterer, a drug recognition expert, was assigned to evaluate whether Dave was impaired. Afterward, Otterer left his body camera on as he called Guild President Mike Solon to report what had happened. In a recording released by the police department Monday, Otterer had this to say. So this is the VP of the Guild, the police union, talking to the president of the police union.
He said she was in a crosswalk. There's a witness that says no, she wasn't, but that witness could be different because I don't think she was thrown 40 feet either.
And although Seattle police did not name the officer that we just heard in a press release, they did identify him with a last name stamped on the video as Otterer, which could indicate it's Officer Daniel Otterer, the Seattle Police Officers Guild vice president. Janavi Kandula was the Northeast University student who was killed in that incident January 23rd, 2023. She was hit by a Seattle police car at the intersection of Dexter Avenue North and Thomas Street in the South Lake Union neighborhood. Seattle police said the officer driving the patrol vehicle was responding to a priority 1 call when the incident happened. Police have released a statement online that says the following video was identified in the routine course of business by a department employee who was concerned about the nature of the statements heard on that video. Appropriately escalated their concerns through their chain of command to the chief's office, which, following a review of the video,
I live in Seattle. These two dudes are bastards. Guy on the camera has cost Seattle $2 million for 18 misconduct violations.
referred the matter to OPA for investigation into the context in which those statements were made and any policy violation that might be implicated. The statement went on to say this is what department policy and the city's accountability ordinance.
They basically are doing defense for the department, like the good cop narrative.
Require. They will be investigating the comments, including this clip in which an officer laughs while discussing the death. Take a listen.
But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah. Yeah, just write a check. Just, yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
Seattle police further.
They literally don't fucking care. Yeah, dude, they're above the law. How many times do we have to say, how the fuck can he say regular person like he's some higher being? I think on the other side, we don't know what they were saying, but they were probably asking, like, does she have a criminal record or something? And I think he meant like she's a civilian. But the last part is she had limited value. She was 26, is like she's a woman and like she has a shelf life. That's what this fucking piglet is saying about a 23-year-old graduate student that they fucking murdered, okay? So understand the callous indifference that they have to human lives that they are tasked with protecting. That kind of attitude is born and bred. That kind of attitude is also an expectation from the police, from those who actually control the levers of power in society. They are supposed to be these merciless pig dogs who fucking routinely cull the masses. They're supposed to be devoid of empathy. They are the violent, jackbooted thugs of the state, which has a monopoly on violence. Most mask-off shit I've ever seen from a cop, to be honest. Well, it's because this is supposed to be a private moment where a vice president of a police union is talking to a president of a police union. Now, if the head of the snake is this fucking rotten, why do you expect the rest to not be? Okay? These are the people that are tasked with supposedly protecting and serving the population. This is why we say there are no such thing as good cops, okay? This is why we say all cops are bad, because the institution is designed in a way to do this, to have this kind of criminal negligence, to have this kind of disdain for human life. That's it. And if you are a good cop, because you were originally duped by Hollywood into thinking that your job is to protect and serve the interests of the citizens, and if you actually follow through on doing good things in a system that is designed for you to do bad things, you will inevitably be pushed out of the service, or even maybe in certain instances killed. You'll be fired, you'll be bullied out, or you'll be killed. Because you might be a good person when you're not wearing the badge, but when you're wearing the badge, you are expected to do bad things. That is your job. Remember that. The job attracts power-hungry, sadistic sociopaths. Couple that and lack of oversight and accountability, that is bad. No, it's not that the job attracts power-hungry, sadistic sociopaths. The job also turns you into a power-hungry, sadistic sociopath because the job demands you be a power-hungry, sadistic sociopath. That's the problem. They're showing their personal disdain for the citizens that they are supposed to protect and serve. They're talking about a human being whose life was cut short at the age of 23 by a cop who didn't have his fucking lights or sirens on, okay? Going 74 miles an hour on a 25-mile zone. A cop that killed someone.
Oh, he was good. He says, well, normally we don't give voluntary statements. And I said, hey, you're going to have to decide if you wanted to give a statement or not. But it does not seem like there's a criminal investigation going on.
They're talking about a criminal investigation into the cop that killed this person, this 23-year-old. Dave was one of the 6 officers dispatched this bullshit call that was objectively not an emergency. A panic attack doesn't require 6 cops. It certainly doesn't require them to drive at ridiculously unsafe speeds to get there, especially with their lights off too and no sirens. Kevin Dave was one of the 6 officers dispatched to an overdose call that SFD had well in hand. Seattle Fire Department was there on scene. He was 3 minutes from his destination when he hit Janavi. He could have driven the speed limit and reached where he was going at half of SPD's priority 1 response target, which is 6 minutes.
Otherwise, there would be other... What's that? Yeah. Otherwise, there might be other people arriving, correct? Yeah. I mean, he's going 50. That's not out of control. That's not reckless for a trained driver. Yeah. Lights and sirens. Yeah.
It wasn't 50, and as far as I understand, lights and sirens weren't on. He was going 74 miles an hour in a 25-mile area.
Yeah, well, there's some... Initially, he said she was in a crosswalk. There's a witness that says, no, she wasn't. But
he had lights on, but no sirens.
But that witness could be different because I don't think she was thrown 40 feet either.
He's saying that the witness's testimony might not be credible because the witness also said she was thrown 40 feet.
I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead.
I watched the footage. He was flicking the lights on periodically while flying through the area at 75 miles per hour. This is criminal.
No, it's a regular person.
Says no, it's a regular person.
Yeah,
No,
just write a check. Yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
So that's the video. The cop's defense of this is saying he's making fun of the lawyers. That's how lawyers speak about the situation. His take is that he was just like simply making fun of the lawyers. It doesn't matter. The lawyers are representing the fucking police union, dipshit. Like, he's talking about the payouts that they have to make to people that they kill in an unjustifiable situation. And yes, he was on the phone with the Seattle Fraternal Order of the Police President. Yes, he's the vice president on the phone, on the other side of the phone, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure you can FOIA if I'm not mistaken, is the president of the union, the police union. Orderer, ultimately, the guy who you heard, who had this disdain, the vice president of the fucking union, the police union, was investigated by the OPA twice for punching women, one of whom was handcuffed. He was never fired, not even disciplined for it. The vice president of the police union. His predecessor, Michael Renner, was sued twice for beating people with flashlights. Brutality must be a prerequisite for the Seattle Police, Fraternal Order of Police VP slot. How is he still employed? He's a cop. He doesn't have to do anything. He can get away with any kind of fucking cruelty. You are like this kind of inhumane behavior doesn't happen overnight. It's born, it's bred, it's developed. It's also expected. I saw this as well. Not sure if this is real or not, but the SPD cop who laughed and joked about the young girl who was killed has been the subject of 18 OPA investigations since 2014, costing the city over $2 million in lawsuits. Daniel Order has been the subject of 18 OPA investigations. Cops were paid like CEOs and are slow-rolling priority one calls. SPOG members are staging sick-outs, the blue flu. SPD drug-tested Janavi Kandula, but not the cop who ran her over. As in, after she was executed in a situation where there was vehicular manslaughter, where a cop was going 74 miles in a 25-mile zone to go to a possible overdose call that turned out to be just someone on cocaine who was having a panic attack, where the Seattle Fire Department was already on site. They immediately tried to cover their asses by drug testing this person so that they could have claimed, potentially, that she was under the influence of drugs and deserved it. Okay? They drug tested her after murdering her. No drug test took place for the murderer. They always do post hoc rationalizations. This is something that they've been able to get away with for many, many years. The media used to let them get away with it and participate in the narrative. The media has certainly changed their attitude. Local news, on the other hand, still absolutely does this.